Welcome. This is Responding to COVID-19 on TTT Live, Chalk City 91.1 FM and TTT Live online on Facebook. I'm DK Rosner. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now, though there has been work in train for some time now, COVID-19 seems to have been a catalyst for many changes related to law enforcement and the judicial system. Now, we plan to discuss some of them here with Paul and Daniel Nahous, security and law enforcement consultant. Unfortunately, he was recently pressed into firefighting as well during this year's dry season. So, good evening, Paul. How are you at this point in time?
Good evening. Pretty good.
All right. Now, what are some of the security issues that you've been paying attention to most during this pandemic?
Well, first off, law enforcement would have been spread very thin during this the beginning of this pandemic. Obviously, because there was worry in the beginning about looting and about this kind of stuff that may have occurred. We didn't know where the situation was going. Thank God it did not get nearly as bad as a lot of other countries. But that fear was there. And out of that fear, the Commissioner of Police would have had to ensure that, and he did ensure that law enforcement was out in as full force as could be mustered at the time. What that does, though, is just like when there is a call-out, we've had call-outs in the past where, 72 hours of full policing and these kind of situations. They put a strain on law enforcement, put a strain on officers, put a strain on logistics, vehicles, all these kind of stuff. Any overtime that puts a financial strain. So the commissioner would have had to have a strong presence at first and then see how it could be, I don't want to say scaled back necessarily, but how it could have been scaled back enough to facilitate proper logistics. So that was a big strain on the police service. In terms of private security would have felt the pinch of this because with a lot of businesses closing down or having reduced profits, security costs was obviously one of the costs that would have been cut. And this happened to come in right after the minimum wage went to $18 an hour. So security companies would have had to deal with increasing the pay of the employees, whether or not they pass on to customers, part of their arrangement with them. Some firms did, some firms didn't, and it just puts a strain on the entire system of law enforcement, as it does with many other things.
I hear you speaking a great deal about strain and the fact that resources were stretched. Are there any advantages or rather opportunities that you see that can be taken advantage of at this time? Now, I saw a post that you did, and hopefully we're not past the point where we can make use of opportunities to reform three broad categories. You had them under the themes of healthcare, education, and agriculture. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's never too late to put in some of the things I suggested there. But I think that we should have been thinking about when you talk about this new normal and the state returning to how it was. And so I don't think it's been working. I don't think we've had systems that have been working for the past, I don't know how many years. So in terms of reform, we should really reform things. To go back to where we were, at the point where we were on a road that did not lead to prosperity, in my opinion. So even though we did not do this during that time, we still can do it. First of all, I'll touch on healthcare. This was the perfect opportunity to deal with healthcare from a holistic point of view. Being that, let's say somebody gets COVID-19, let's say they get the flu, let's say they get a lot of other things. Of course, medical treatment, you need medical treatment, you need medication. But one thing that is not being spoken out a lot is that the state your body is in at the time. If you are healthy, you have a healthy immune system, you can better fight for certain things. It prevents you from getting to a point of being deathly ill or being, you'll be less ill than someone who is, say, unhealthy. That is always a mitigating factor. So I think they really should have focused on increased healthcare, as in exercise, encouraging people to exercise, encouraging the population to eat healthy. And that leads me into my next point about eating healthy. We are blessed with land that is so fertile. You spit out a seed from something on the ground, you come back a couple of months later, and you have a watermelon. You know what I mean? Agriculture in Trinidad, I think, has been overlooked. Now, one good cue is a lot of people started buying seedlings, and some people started doing the business, selling seeds, selling selling different gardening products. And people in the country for themselves, much more than before anyway, to do herb gardens, to plant a few small stuff in the yard. Nothing major, of course, nothing commercial for most people. However, this is a good trend forward in supporting agriculture as well as supporting healthy eating habits. The government did start giving out some seed packs and different things, but we need to look at agriculture a step further. We need to take it to a point where it is commercially viable, if nothing else, than for food security. Whether or not we can export enough to make up a good profit, I wouldn't be able to say. I'm not an expert on agriculture, but I just think that seen as Jamaica, for example, recently, I think they shipped their first large shipment of mango to the U.S., I believe it was Florida, if I'm not mistaken. And we have a similar climate. We have things that are growing so easily in this country. We can start exporting. One aspect is export. The other aspect is that we need to encourage people to eat local food, locally grown vegetables. We have provision is very good for you. If you make bread out, you can make bread out of it. I guarantee you, if you eat cassava bread, you wouldn't want to go and eat regular white bread again. It is tasty, but we're not encouraging it. I think a lot of the culture is encouraged to want foreign stuff, want imported stuff.
One of the things I grew up learning, or grew up being told to me, is that country poor is very different from town poor, in the sense that country poor, you normally have things, you're sticking something into the earth. I think the disruption of COVID has helped a little bit having people wrap their minds around the fact that, wait now, all I need is a little bit of space, possibly a bucket, something. Like you said, it doesn't need to be commercial, but at the same time, the less money that goes out of my pocket to buy this because I have it growing here is the more money that I can direct to something else, to your point of food security.
You're correct. That's the thing. So if we have percentage-wise, we keep on reducing the amount of food we import, and we grow more local and buy more local, encourages these local produce. One, it's for health. Two, it reduces at the very least, even if we make profit exporting, let's say we find out it's not a viable source of forex. At the same time, it cuts down your food import bill, and by cutting down your food import bill, you save forex.
Definitely. But you also one of the things you also spoke about was education. What kind of tweaks would you suggest easing back into the new normal?
Now, as I said, I'm not an agriculture expert. I'm not a health expert. I'm speaking just from what I know. It would have been an amalgamation of my experiences, things I saw in policy. People I know, everything is a really amalgamation of your professionalism plus your life experiences. So I'm just speaking out of what I would think is common sense, but I don't know if anyone has any other views. But in terms of education, I think it should have been reassessed. It should have reassessed this whole SE common entrance system that, it was, 11 plus and common entrance, now SE. I think that whole system needs to be reassessed because the type of pressure that exam puts on a 10-year-old child, it's absurd to say the least. And no child should have to tie in, because we have a cultural thing where we tie in that, all right, what you do on this exam will determine your life. And you know what? To some degree, it is applicable, to some degree. Because you have children now that are totally broken when they don't pass for their first choice or any schools of choice. You have destroyed a child at 10 years old mentally. They go into school feeling as stupid as a secondary school. And then 10th one, they're not going to excel as far as somebody in a prestige, quote-unquote prestige school, because you've already broken a child at that level. So doing that is detrimental to our nation's children, in my opinion. And now you have people that, and you have people, of course, who did not pass in the second, third, or fifth choice even. You have children that did that and excelled and did great because they had the drive to do it. That is usually an exception to the rule. The system, I don't think, is conducive to encouraging children to do or be their best. And as I said, I'm not an education expert, so I'm speaking from just a perspective as a layman here. But maybe you assess the system and see that that's the only viable system. Maybe, I don't know. But an assessment needs to take place, not just let's push back the exam today, let's push back the exam. And when this all wraps up, we go back to spending on as much as possible on foreign, on food. We go back to spending you go back to an ineffective system of healthcare where we look to treat you after you have the disease. And
but I know though that one of the things in terms of it is very hard, even though we've had a disruption, it's very hard to go from an established protocol to something totally different. But hopefully this is the start of the changes that we'll want to see. And you've been speaking about saying, okay, well, you're talking about the range of your experiences and common sense. Well, we're going to get back into your specialty when we return from this break. This is Responding to COVID-19 on TTT Live, Talk City 91.1 FM, and TTT Live online on Facebook. We're speaking to Paul Daniel Nahous, a security and law enforcement consultant, and I want to talk about tasering when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are speaking with a security and law enforcement consultant, Paul Daniel Nahous, and we've had a wide-ranging discussion thus far, but now we're going back to home and his point of his specialty. And Paul, with regard to taser training and other less than deadly force measures currently being looked at for use in the country, what are your thoughts on them?
Currently, much of the population will not be aware of this, but the TTPS currently, along with a lot of different training programs they're running now, they are going on to taser training. Or I should say they have done a substantive amount of taser training. We have tasers out there. They have been issued, and the Guardian Emergency Branch now all carry tasers. The Interagency Task Force carry tasers as well. I believe that the Interagency Task Force is spearheading the training of the tasers, probably along with the academy. They are trying to now, well, currently, as we speak now, it could be going on. They're currently trying to train the task force in the various divisions for the tasers because they have a certain amount of taser units. Now, being a police officer, you will have to do training in any piece of equipment you have on you. For example, if you see an officer with a walkie-talkie, he has a certificate in the academy saying to use the walkie-talkie. See an officer with a baton, he has training with the baton and a certificate on file. With the firearm, he knows qualified. For the firearm, he has to do his entire firearm course with it. For each particular firearm that they are using, an officer can't just go and take a firearm out of the station to use for duty if he's not certified that particular firearm. So that's how that system is set up with the police. So if you see a police officer with a taser, he is trained and certified to use that taser. Now, that is a lengthy process to issue all of the tasers that they have. Obviously, they have to procure more, and the goal is that they will have tasers across the country in as many units as possible. However, I can confirm the Guardian Emergency Branch, the IATF has, and they are currently trying to train task force with it. I'm not sure how the commissioner intends to disperse, but give out the tasers after to train people or so. I guess that will be a conversation they'll be having internally, but he has been pushing the less than lethal methods for less lethal situations constantly.
That begs the question, though. That begs the question. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, but officers do not have the luxury of that in making these split-second decisions. What are some of the things that you're looking for to say, okay, I'm going to use my taser versus I'm going to use another piece of equipment that have been issued?
All right. So everything that the police officers to do in terms of using force is supposed to be on the background of their use of force policy. So every officer is trained with what's called use of force, which tells the appropriate amount of force to use in the situation. However, life is a lot more dynamic than any training could ever be, as much as they try. So my area of expertise is the lethal side of it. The less than lethal is something that I've touched on. I would comment to say this, that when a police officer faces a situation, he needs lethal force when lethal force is presented or lethal threat is presented to them. So, for example, and this in the past, they would have had to use the firearm because they did not have any other options. If you see somebody at a certain distance with a cutlass, and they tell him, okay, not to move, and he decides to run at somebody else, what are their options? The option is to shoot him. if now he is using lethal force or he's coming with lethal force. So you can apply lethal force to protect the public. However, now, if he is not close enough to be reached of somebody and you have a taser, you now have that option to disable him. And that's really what it is. The less than lethal are giving you options before you reach the firearm. Now, there will be situations which someone presents lethal force, and in order to preserve life, you quickly draw the firearm. If somebody's running towards you with a cutlass, you might draw the firearm because they're presenting lethal force. And it's really split-second decisions. For example, if you go on a traffic stop and you see someone pull out something that appears to be a firearm, you're not going to reach for your taser. If you see someone dip his hand into a pocket and you don't know what's coming out, you're not going to reach for your taser because it could be a firearm he has there. He can kill you or he can kill someone else there as well. So there's some gray area, and each situation has to be taken and measured with the use of force. As you said, hindsight is 20/20. What happens is that after shooting, you have attorneys, you have witnesses, you have the whole of Facebook. Everybody has an opinion because they can sit down in a rational way. They can sit down outside the situation and they can watch a video 100 times and go over all the intricacies of it. So when I would examine videos, for example, use of force, I've made commentary on that before. I would examine videos on use of force. And when I would examine the video, I'm taking in every step of it, but not from the perspective of someone who has time to sit down and rationalize. From the perspective of someone who is behind the rifle, for someone who's behind the gun, for someone who has pulled somebody over. And that split second, if you've never experienced it, you don't really know what it is. That split second is your life flashing before your eyes right there. That split second is life and death right there. So sometimes an officer will act out of fear of his life, out of fear of somebody else's life being taken, and you really don't have time. For example, we always see, we're kind of, I don't want to say brainwashed, but we are conditioned from a lot of TV shows to think that, somebody has a gun and you pull out a gun and say, freeze, drop the gun, and, hands in the air, that kind of stuff. It doesn't happen like that in real life. In real life, you see somebody with a gun, you draw, if an officer draws and issues a verbal command to stop, sometimes before they even get the command, they turn and the gun is pointed at the officer, and the officer has no choice but to shoot.
And long and short of it, and I'm sure everyone wants to make it home at the end of the day.
Well, correct. We have to understand this, that police officers have families. The officer, and they have normal problems like everyone else, And
a definitely,
police officer has problems with his car breaking down. He has problems where he's under certain types of stress. They have real-world problems. They have children to go home to. They have to worry if they get shot and killed on duty. My family is now without me. My children will grow up fatherless.
Moving from problems to solutions, Paul, how open do you think security firms or national defense services generally or under the current heads are to seeking new methods or best practices? I ask that because you spoke about the strain and the fact that learning the taser would be a lengthy process, and there is an interview that we had recently with someone who has another tactical training module, and it is actually online. So how open do you think that these heads are to getting information to say, okay, well, I have another tool that I can use?
Well, I can't, in terms of law enforcement alone or all national security?
Across the board.
Okay, well, I can't speak for national security in general. I can speak from policing and I can speak from private firms. In terms of private firms, I think that they will not be very open right now. That's my assessment of it, because they are under their own kind of strain in terms of businesses closing down, meaning that they will lose locations that they supply officers to. They may have to cut administrative staff to do the head there. So I don't think it's a priority for private firms because they are just being bombarded now with the same economical pressures as everyone else. In terms of policing, I can say this, that Commissioner Griffith, since he became commissioner, he is very open to suggestions. At a point, I believe he was telling people to WhatsApp him suggestions or to message suggestions, right? He's very open to those things. Now,
all right, so we actually stick that pin there, and we hope to continue this conversation. But thank you very much, Paul Daniel Nahous, security and law enforcement consultant, for just giving us, and we got even more than we bargained for this afternoon. But this has been responding to COVID on TTT Live, Talk City 91.1 FM, and TTT Live online on Facebook. Remember, you can join us on all our channels and stations for the latest in COVID-19 related news. Thank you for tuning in. I'm DK Roster.